Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Stoidan, Executive Director of the Niagara Foundation and Chicago Forum. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak before you, and it's a great pleasure and honor for me to do that, especially during the time when we already analyzing 1 year since the new change of regime in Kyrgyzstan, and what are the consequences, how those development of events, internal dynamic, and have a regional implication as an implication for the development of the political and economic reforms in that country, and implications for the US-Kyrgyz relations. First, let me start maybe from a brief introduction, general information. Kyrgyz Republic is one of the newly independent states which acquired independence since 1991 when Soviet Union collapsed. Population 5.5 million, not so big, and size of the territory similar to the size of the state of Minnesota. Yeah, state of Minnesota. So GDP for 45 billion, GDP per capita 22,000 US dollars. One of the important now phenomenon which is experienced by the population of Kyrgyzstan is growth of migration, and many people from the Kyrgyz Republic they're migrating towards regional nations, first of all to Kazakhstan, then Russian Federation, and many of them also live in countries of the West, including also United States. And in Chicago, we could see now growing, significantly growing parts of the Kyrgyz population. Thank you very much also for helping, especially for Niagara Foundation, to help them to become part of here, the local fabric and constituency. By the way, we are not ashamed of that phenomenon. It's a global phenomenon now. People, they have a right to choose the country of their destiny, and it's also a sign of the globalization. So next, employment rate official 18%, 2004, population below poverty line 40%, then exchange rate 47 som per US dollar. When som was introduced for the first time in 1993 among the first countries in the former CIS, the rate was around 5 som per $1. So we have a 10% increase. It's not so big during that period of time. Urban population 30%. And traditionally for that country, so the developing world in transition, rural we could see 70%. And it's also present quite a significant maybe challenge for the reforms. It means so many people, they have to migrate from the rural area to the cities, and from the cities and also abroad. Map of the Kyrgyzstan, and you could see the flag, the one, flag of the Kyrgyzstan, which is now probably under the new dispute in the new parliament of Kyrgyzstan, when some of the deputies they're questioning whether it is time to change it to the new one. But it's how democracy works. So interesting developments. Major developments during the independence, and I would like to put here more emphasis on our relationships with the United States, our strategic partner. Our diplomatic relations were established in 1991, and the United States was one of the first countries which recognized our independence. Turkey was among the, probably not the second, but among that, the first who not only recognized but also opened the embassies. And I remember from my own also experience. Many of the United Nations and other international organizations 1992, similar time. Member of the OSCE 1992, and we are grateful to the United States and other members of the OSCE for recognizing the importance of the newly independent states and countries of Central Asia to become the members of the OSCE, despite of the fact that geographically we are not belonging to that area. Then, new constitution was adopted in 1993 when we abandoned the previous one existing during the Soviet time and introduced many elements which exist till now in our constitution. So then own country SOM was introduced among the first around the post-Soviet space in 1993 because of the radical reforms. Membership to the World Trade Organization was the first among the countries of CIS, and until now in the whole Central Asia we are the only nation which is the member of the WTO, except China, which is not the member of the CIS, and we hope that maybe Kazakhstan, if it will join during a year and a half, it will make quite a significant change. And granting a normal trade relation status with the United States, 2000, the year which is similar to the year when Chinese they acquired that status for them. Since 2005, we had quite a dramatic development of events, radical in Kyrgyzstan, which had a significant impact to the regional dynamic. March 24th, 2005, so-called tulip revolution took place in Kyrgyzstan, and President Akayev was in need to leave the country. I followed his lead and decided to flee towards Utah. So I'm still teaching there. But second time in 2005 in June, our country experienced, in 2005 in June, as a result of that change of regime, Kurmanbek Bakiyev was elected as the second president of Kyrgyzstan. You could see him here on the photograph late March 2005 when he is appearing to the crowd. After the election of the Kurmanbek Bakiyev, during a couple of years, regime consolidated and moved towards more authoritarian rule. And as a result of the repression of the opposition, persecution of the independent media outlets, and with all negative consequences. So around 2008, we already had a situation when constitution was altered 4 times, amended, and led to the repeating the same type of scenario like in Russia and in Kazakhstan. One-party rule with a strong domination of the presidential power. As a result of such a strengthening of regime and worsening of the economic life of the people there, with the strengthening again the family rule of in Kyrgyzstan of President Bakiyev, in April 2010, April 7, 2010, our country experienced a second change of the regime, and as a result of that, second president was in need to leave the country, and now probably he is hosted by the regime of Belarusian President Lukashenko in Minsk. Since the upheaval last April, we had several major developments in the country. In June 2010, the famous conflict in the south of Kyrgyzstan, which usually in the media and the experts name now as an ethnic conflict between the 2 different ethnic groups which live in the south, Uzbek and Kyrgyz. Second, June 2010, just several weeks after that conflict, country held a referendum, and there was quite a criticism from the some of the local population and others, whether it is appropriate to have a referendum, but for the legitimization of a new regime and a new government, it was quite inappropriate. And during the referendum, people approved a new constitution, which led to the creation of a new type of the political system based on the parliamentary rule of the governments. And the lady whom you see here in the photograph, Rosa Otunbayeva, she was confirmed, elected as the president of the Kyrgyz Republic, and the most significant for us event, she had become the first woman in our modern history to become president of our nation. And at the same time also she is the first female president among the leaders of the CIS nations. October 2010, government interim proceeded with conducting elections to the new parliament, and we conducted it in a free and fair environment. There were some of the, again, some criticism with the challenges which were not related to the free choice of the people, but more and more influence of the money, and probably from abroad, etc. But in general, elections were quite free and fair. And as a result of that, we elected 5 parties, members from the 5 parties to the parliament. And I would like to name that Atatürk from the south, representing primarily people from the south constituency, SDPK, Social Democratic Party of Kyrgyzstan, led by now current Prime Minister Atambayev. Arnam, one of the also oldest parties, which is led by the former Prime Minister Felix Kulov, quite an influential official in Kyrgyzstan. Respublika, newly, freshly mint party led by the successful businessman Babanov, who was just recently first deputy prime minister, but now for 1 month he decided to be released from his duties during the investigation. And Atameken is one of the oldest also parties in Kyrgyzstan, led by the prominent opposition leader Omar Baktybek. November 2010, these 5 parties, they tried to create a coalition government, and unfortunately they failed to reach the agreement, and only in December 2010 they formed a new coalition government, which was led by Respublika, SDPK and Atatürk. And to the surprise to so many people, Atameken and its leader, who was one of the fathers of the new constitution based on the parliamentary political system in comparison with the previously existing presidential one, they didn't become part of the coalition. So December 20th, 2010, our country formed the first coalition government, not only in the history of the Kyrgyzstan, but also whole Central Asia, because in other republics, maybe as you know, they have the system which is based on the presidential one, and there is no such a phenomenon as a coalition government. But experience was started. And here I would like just to show some information about the major parties, political parties, which pop up as a result of that new constitution adopted in June. So 152 new parties, many of them, some of them old ones, but in general, many of them freshly minted. And this was maybe one of the disadvantages or points of the criticism from the opposition and others, that a new system based on the parliamentarism is not based on the solid foundation when we had to have a strong party system existed during a long time. So many of them, they had no not only traditions and the programs, but also were based more on the personalities. They were parties based on certain charismatic leaders. Now we have 5 parties in the parliament, and this is just information about each of them. The peculiarity of the situation was that there was no clear leader in the parliament, and all of that parties they split votes evenly. Atatürk had the highest percent, 8.5 probably, and at the same time Baktybek, which was in a 5th place, 5%. So that's why there was no clear leading voice and leading political force in the parliament, which was probably dictating its program. And here, from my point of view, maybe this was also the beauty of the system, that as a result of that, elections reflected the mood against the electorate and represented, first of all of the interest of the regions, all of the interest of the major players in the political scene in even way, and as a result of that, to a significant way, the stabilization of the situation was achieved because of that factor, that so many influential players and forces were evenly distributed and represented in the parliament, and due to that country had a chance to move towards maybe more stability and working on the major issues related with economic development and promotion of reforms. So now, what kind of major trends we have there? Parliament divided into 2 parts. First of all, there are parties which are supporting, continue to support the system of the parliamentarism as one of the major, probably, tools against the restoring the authoritarian rule which existed during more than 15 years in Kyrgyzstan. And among that parties we have to name SDPK, Atamekani Respublika, and there are also 2 parties which are again pro-presidential, which are pushing again restoring the presidential rule, Arnamis and Atatürk. And at the same time, several parties which were left behind the and didn't reach the level threshold in order to get elected to the parliament, something like. After the new developments in the Middle East, probably many rulers in the Middle East, also in Central Asia and in Russia, they are not so openly pushing back to the restoring that rule, and quite cautious in order to do that. And as a result of that, my guess is for Kyrgyzstan, major implication of that developments in the Middle East, to use that window of opportunities which is created, and to continue to strengthen that parliamentary rule of the governance in order to succeed further in the future. Okay, and challenges for the new parliamentary system. First of all, we have to educate our population, because among so many people, they don't have enough yet experience in order to deal with that system and to work in the environment which requires to have really strong parties and to pay attention to their programs and not only to the personalities. So that's why a lot is required to do that this way. Secondly, attempt to discredit parliamentarism for the situation when the parliament and coalition government could be incapable to function effectively, and there are many forces which are interested in such type of the outcome. Okay, so one more maybe factor which is related to the second one, also disorder in functioning of coalition, and as a result of that disruptions of both political and economic reforms, but economic now are representing themselves as maybe most important because of the necessity to resolve the problem with the budget, with the social sphere. And due to that, we could see how the social tensions are growing in Kyrgyzstan, and recent development of events were showing that there could be a possibility of the new elections, but at the same time, the governing coalition now is recognizing how it would be challenging for the country to deal with the new elections, and they are trying now to find some kind of maybe more moderate ways to handle the relationships. But at the same time, the new situation related to the necessity to conduct presidential elections at the end of the year, infusing a new level of the tensions to the political life. So the highest danger here, new revolution, but events during that March and April demonstrated that probably among the elite there is more and more understanding about the necessity to try to find common ground for the working together. So possibility for repeating a new conflict in South, threat to the unity, integrity and real independence of the country. Maybe you heard about it. It's independent international commission already presented their report about the cause of the conflict in the south last year to the government, and how they are doing that, because they promised to do that around February, then March, now April, and we see the situation here quite a complicated one. It's not so simple to deal with even this report, so that's why many of the roots of that conflict still exist, and for the government it will be necessary to proceed quite carefully in this direction. But at the same time, to again to conduct a thorough and objective investigation, we should allow in the future not to prevent the repeating of the same type of scenario. And one more again consequences from that. Many people now again leaving the country in a great numbers, and the most disturbing fact that represents of different ethnic groups, especially Slavic one, not Kyrgyz, but at the same time also many of the Kyrgyz, they are deciding to leave the country as well. So further prospects. Growing understanding about the necessity of stability, and people already learning that quite well. Government announced about increasing salary for workers in budgeting sphere by 3 times, and all of that measures should stabilize social tensions. Then another one, political elite also understand the importance of preserving sovereignty, integrity of the state. There are more and more efforts between the politicians in the south and the north to moderate the relationships and find a consensus and compromise. But in December 2011, Kyrgyzstan will face a crucial moment in its development. Probably the most important when will be the next presidential elections. And the again, peculiarity of the moment that Rosa Otunbayeva, according the already the deal which was made and which was approved during the referendum as well, she cannot take part in it. So due to that, we will be in need, first of all, to elect a new leader, new president, and who will be that leader and how we will conduct that elections. If they will be done again peacefully, like it happened during that parliamentary one, probably as a result of that, country will experience more positive developments in order to further strengthen the parliamentary system. Or otherwise, who knows, maybe some of the forces could again still try to push towards the revival of the presidential one, but many things will be in stake. So preparations for the presidential elections has already started, But my guess that the role of the Rosa Otunbayeva is crucial. First of all, because of her decision also not to run in 2011. And even the fact that the current president is not running again for the office and will try to make all of the efforts in order to make the transition in an orderly way, will lay the ground for the people in order to have at least the third change of the government in a legitimate way according to the constitution, not like it happened with the two predecessors. And this will be probably the most important now development in the life of the modern Kyrgyzstan. And again, in the case of the successful transition, it will have an impact to the regional dynamic as well. So, thank you. The new wave of that elite, which I would say was raised in the West, not yet, but some of them already present in the parliament, but not have such a strong yet influence. And primarily these two groups that you mentioned.
The problems in south of your country, is it because of the clashes between the ethnic groups? And is it heavily populated Uzbeks or which ethnic minorities is living there? The second question is, why are they fighting? Are they just fighting for hate crime, or are they demanding something from the government? Are they just demanding a maybe independent place, like apart from the Kyrgyz government?
You know, here I think situation is quite complicated because, especially for our brothers in Turkey, you cannot understand how two people with the same roots and speaking the same language could maybe have such kind of tense relationships. But it has roots probably in history, and it's not only ethnic issues, but also way of life. People who, for example, now we are more and more emphasis trying to do on the study and research of the situation based on the differences of the way of life. People who live in the mountains, for example, nomads, Kyrgyz, and people who live in the valleys, traditional way, Uzbeks. This is also adding a new dimension of the tensions, and to say here that it's all only based on the ethnic differences probably will be not right to do. But partly here the reason for the clashes was related with the, I would say, with the pace of the reforms which are taking place in Kyrgyzstan, and very radical one. When, as a result of that, such a radicalization of reforms, for example, Uzbek people who lived in the valleys, they had become so wealthy and rich in comparison with their compatriots, for example, in Uzbekistan. And they become also very rich in comparison with the Kyrgyz who lived in the mountains. And this is tensions where ethnic differences just is adding, additionally inflaming. But this was a reason based on the inequality during the first stages of the development of the capitalist system, market-based. And again, it is also a well-known fact that, again, Uzbeks who lived in Osh and many other areas, due to the reforms, private property to land which is introduced, they are so wealthy and have a lot of say in economic life. And now they would like also to have more say in the political life. But it's becoming such a complex issue, and the only maybe resolution here I could see that more and more radicalization of the economic reforms where we have to empower people living in the mountains as well.
And does the Kyrgyz government, or do you personally have a conflict resolution model for this kind of clashes?
I'm now not a part of the government. During 6 years, by the way, in living in Utah temporarily, I'm trying to implement that model. Which, by the way, also was initiated by the Kyrgyz government in 1998, when, under the initiative of the Kyrgyz government, the United Nations celebrated the International Year of the Mountains with a clear goal to attract attention of the international community to the needs of the people who live in the mountains, to give them more empowerment, politically, economically, and this is a model which we are trying also to bring back to Kyrgyzstan. And recently, just in March, we hosted a group from the Open World in Utah. We brought women leaders from Fergana Valley, try to focus on that area and to work. Again, this is one of the ideas which we are trying also to bring more and more attention from the mountain communities in the United States, especially Rocky Mountains, and with them help to empower the people living in the mountains of Central Asia to become more sustained. So maybe I would say that I'm trying to implement that model, and we hope that it will work in a certain way.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes.
If I recall correct, please feel free to correct me. Since your mission at the United Nations, one of the few countries promote religion as one of the religious dialogues as one of the issues at the United Nations. Has that anything to do with the ethnicity conflict, or do you see any role that religion can play to help smooth that in this conflict?
We, through the United Nations, we are not trying to pursue that goal about in one way or another to involve the religious issues, but we are trying to create an environment where for all of the religions will be a mutual tolerance and working together. Whether in Niagara Foundation is contributing here quite a lot in order to sustain that model, and especially tolerant branch of the Islam. And we hope that the Turkish model also in the future could play more positive and active role for the Central Asia. But
Can religion play a role in the
my personal view usually that in the countries of Central Asia and in Kyrgyzstan, we have to try to preserve the level of that secularity which exists there, and at the same time to give a chance to revive for the religious, for the religion to play its role like it was before. For example, for the Islam, but not to do in such way that so many already achievements which existed before to give up that space and to, as a result of that, again to for the religion play the special role, but not the expense of the some of the institutions which existed in our country before. I mean secular.
Thank you. I think we should wrap up the session because the lunch is ready waiting for us. Thank you so much for attending. Before wrapping up, I'd like to call Dr. Soydan to give you a little gift from Niagara Foundation for coming here to
Baktybek, coming to Niagara Foundation. I need to mention about this. I went to Kyrgyzstan 4 times. It's a wonderful, lovely country, and we should go there. And naturally beautiful. People really warm, and your presence here is worth for us.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Let's have a chat together.
Searching common ground between different civilizations, and at the same time for many countries like mine to present its policies, views based on the same type of the ground which Niagara Foundation is trying to build: tolerance, understanding, working together with different ethnic groups, religious ones. And for Kyrgyzstan, this is the case also, how to find such a type of the environment where all of our ethnic groups will co-live with each other and contribute to the development of our society in the maximum possible way. And Turkey, this is a great example of that existing republic during since 1924 till now, and how now Turkey is moving towards including all the tolerant way of the Islam to the modern life of the society. At the same time, with adjusting to the rules already put in place by great Atatürk. The current relations are really great, and we have investments, many. We have good connections, political, economic one, but we are expecting more and more cooperation, more investments, especially in the bigger scale, because then, as a result of that, would be possible for us to restore many relations which existed between our countries, between our people before, and in new that environment when we could see so many changes are taking place in the Middle East. We think that maybe Turkey could play a role of the such a mediator of the restoring the connections with the nations like Egypt and others, or people there trying to find a new way of the building open societies, democratic way, and with the market-based economies. So I think that Turkey has a lot in order to manage new type of the relationship with Kyrgyzstan.